about them Cowboys?
Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Drop a like on the video, go ahead and subscribe.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. And with the start of volunteer OTAs in full swing, the Dallas Cowboys continue to take shape, and the shape kind of looks familiar, Cowboys Nation. On yesterday's episode of Get Up, Mike Greenberg, Louis Riddick, and Adam Schefter talked about our Dallas Cowboys' ways to success. You know, I really liked the segment because it had everything that I asked for from a sports show these days. So we're going to take a listen to the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do. We're going to come back and unpack this Raw and Uncut. So, Cowboys Nation, let's go ahead and take a listen to the first clip from Get Up.
Their offensive line has the ability to be a dominant offensive line if guys like Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, those two guys in particular, along with Tyler Smith, can wind up being the kind of road graders that I used to play against when I played against the Cowboys in the 90s, when they absolutely just snatched your will from you every single game. If those 3 dudes right there can wind up hitting their potential, this football team could be really dangerous. It really could. I just happen to be skeptical in their own division because of the improvements that I think Washington is going to make and the fact that Philadelphia, their whole offense returns.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, Louis Riddick. But Louis is absolutely correct about the offensive line. If Tyler Guyton can make that nice sophomore jump this year, it would make that front even more dominant. Louis Riddick did leave Cooper Beebe out, but I hope that was an accident and, you know, that he knows that Cooper Beebe is going to be an animal for the Dallas Cowboys offense. But anyway, jump into the next clip. The conversation pivots to the acquisition of George Pickens. Adam Schefter speaks about the impact Pickens can have on the Dallas Cowboys offense. So let's take a listen to that so we can come back and talk about it. Roll the clip.
Talking to people in Pittsburgh, George Pickens wasn't like a miserable human being to be around every day. There were things he did in practice and on the field that frustrated coaches because it showed, you know, in and out in terms of his attention to detail and all that kind of stuff. But I think, you know, with Dak Prescott, he'll be the best quarterback George Pickens has had, I think fairly easily at this point. And I think, you know, what the Cowboys would tell you is the leadership Dak provides is something that Pickens hasn't had from a quarterback in his time in Pittsburgh because there's been so much turnover. And he's got 1 year left on his contract. He knows if he wants to get paid big as a wide receiver, and that means big these days, he has to be outstanding this year.
See, Cowboys Nation, that was the narrative that I was given when it came to George Pickens. The red flags, like when he pulled Jordan Lewis's face mask at the end of the game when we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, some with the lowlights that they have on YouTube that show how he's a locker room virus. But watching his press conference, Pickens seems to be that man that knows what's at stake and knows what he needs to do in order to secure his first bag in the NFL, whether it's with the Dallas Cowboys or with a totally different team. George Pickens is deepening his resume with the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys get to take full advantage of that. We'll talk about that more during my Raw and Uncut portion, so make sure you stick around for that. Now, in the last clip, Louis Riddick speaks about the truth about George Pickens and the trade and how the Dallas Cowboys actually won this trade. So let's go ahead and listen to that so we can get into this Raw and Uncut.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against it. I mean, we've seen it since the beginning of time that guys wind up having tremendous years and are on their best behavior in a contract year because they understand what's at stake. And I've also been on the other side of it from a front office perspective where you're sitting there and you're knowing, you know what, this guy is doing everything he's doing because he knows that he wants to get paid. And he knows that's the only way he's going to. Now, what happens when we do pay him then? And since this show and since this conversation isn't about what's Dallas going to look like in 2026, well, then, yeah, maybe in 2025, we get the very, very best version of George Pickens. And that's not trying to be disrespectful. That's just being honest about it.
Yeah.
Man, Cowboys Nation, I'll go on record again by saying this move was genius by Jerry and Stephen Jones. Bra freaking vo. But y'all ready for this Raw and Uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Man, Cowboys Nation, this year is starting to shape up, but on some real shit, it's starting to shape up like it's resembling a past Dallas Cowboys team, a team that fell short in the divisional round. We'll get into that more later in the Raw and Uncut, but Louis Riddick is right about the Dallas Cowboys and their commitment to the offensive line. Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, and Tyler Booker, all top 3-round draft picks, all drafted to be the future wall of the Dallas Cowboys. But one thing I love is the atmosphere that Brian Schottenheimer is bringing to the Dallas Cowboys. One of a connected environment, a competitive environment with shooting free throws with the players and moving the ping pong table to the middle of the locker room. Brian Schottenheimer is cultivating a culture which was on full display during the draft this year. Go back and watch the draft, look at the picks that we got. You can see the aggression that they wanted to go with. But each player on this offensive line has displayed the ability to be scrappers in the trenches. Tyler Guyton going toe-to-toe with Myles Garrett on the first game of last year, the first game of his professional lifetime. Man, he did pretty good. He held his own. You know, we got Terrence Steele, who is a great run blocker. The interior offensive line, they're projected to move men. They're going to be movers of men, plowing the road to give full capability with home run ability to the tandem that we have in the backfield. Kind of like the 2022-2023 Dallas Cowboys. Then George Pickens came into play. George Pickens being added to the roster. How he was added and when he was added was a genius move by Jerry Jones. I can't say that enough, Cowboys Nation. But Louis Riddick hit the nail right on the head when he spoke about having Pickens in his contract year. Historically, players tend to ball out. They tend to play their best football in their contract years. This will be the first time that George Pickens gets to take a swing at that contract piñata. His play in Pittsburgh, it'll be a determining factor, but his play this year for the Dallas Cowboys is going to be the tale of the tale, if you feel what I'm saying. But the NFL suffers from recency bias, and it should, Cowboys Nation. It really should. When it's time for George Pickens to start negotiating his contract, they're going to look back at the 2025 season, not the 2024 or 2023. They're going to look at that 2025 season. If he balls out, he can command a hefty ransom from some NFL team because I really feel the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to re-sign him. If he does, hey, I'll eat crow. I'll come on here and say I was wrong, Cowboys Nation. But for this year, the Dallas Cowboys get to benefit from a wide receiver every person around the league considers a wide receiver one, lining up opposite side of CeeDee Lamb. A wide receiver who can go up and make the contested catches. A player who can make those crucial catches when the game's on the line. A player that can take the top off and burn the defense over the top. A wide receiver with sure hands. Kind of like Michael Gallup should have been. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Michael Gallup. Then Micah Parsons tweets out something that made my PTSD flare up, Cowboys Nation. He tweeted, not gonna lie, MF not thinking about that run when you have a healthy Dak, CD, and GP. My rookie year with Coop was average 30 points a game with a fluid run game. We'll be all right. This comes on the heels of Dan Orlovsky voicing his opinion about the Dallas Cowboys defensive seven, which is a concern, Cowboys Nation. Up the middle is a concern for the Dallas Cowboys. But this Dallas Cowboys team is starting to take shape of the Dallas Cowboys teams from the 2022, 2023, and 2024 seasons. That Dallas Cowboys team that could light up the scoreboard against the Giants, the Panthers, or the Seahawks, but couldn't score 21 points in the divisional round of the playoffs. Those seasons where the pass game looked great, but the run game, it was serviceable. Those days where the linebacking core were undersized and used as hybrid safeties in the middle of our field. The years where they relied on getting on the scoreboard first and then allowing our pass rushers to get home on defense. Well, shoot, our middle? Hey, it may be a little weak, but we can still sack the quarterback, right, Cowboys Nation? But this 2025 team is starting to resemble the teams of the past, the 2021 season through the 2023 season. The ability to score the football at will with an opportunistic defense led by Matt Eberflus. The thing that's going to be different from those past seasons is the coaching and front office involvement. The ability to play chess through schematics and play calling while beating the opposing coach in situational football. Innovative play calling and schemes is going to be the key to this team's success under Brian Schottenheimer. The ability to adapt and adjust. The Dallas Cowboys team is that team Cowboys Nation has been asking for years. They got 2 wide receiver 1s. They have a wide receiver 3 that rivals Cedric Wilson, a dope offensive line to protect Dak and make rushing lanes, a Tony Pollard style running back in Jadon Blue, and the Zeke role going to Javonte Williams. This Dallas Cowboys team is going to be able to score the football. We have to be able to stand up to the rushing attack, though. So Cowboys Nation, Micah Parsons could have been far from the truth in his post. We need every aspect of this Dallas Cowboys team to work together and complement each other. We need the defense to be able to go in there and stop the run while the offense establishes the run on their part. The offense has to establish the run in order to chew up the time of possession, giving the defense a rest. The offensive line has to create those gaps for the running backs to take advantage of. All this opening up the play action and the one-on-one matchups for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Complimentary football, Cowboys Nation. It is so important. But coaching is going to be the key to the Cowboys' success this year, Cowboys Nation. We're only going to go as far as Brian Schottenheimer takes us. With 2 AFC championship appearances under his belt, will Brian Schottenheimer have the ability to get it done with a familiar Dallas Cowboys team? Y'all let me know in the comments section. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. Cowboys Nation, what do y'all think about what the crew of Get Up had to say in this segment? Can you see some similarities in this Dallas Cowboys team to teams past? Y'all know how we do it. We always talk about it in the comments section. But if you're digging this content and want to help the Angry Cowboys fan reach its goal of 10,000 subscribers, we are almost there. We need just under 100 subscribers to hit it. Drop a like on this video and please share it with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan. If you are DC for life and you just can't wait for training camp to start to see these position battles, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release a video, podcast episode, film breakdown, or Madden 25 or College Football 25 gameplay. Cowboys Nation, I am on my last official day down here with my brother. He's been in the hospital the whole time. When I get back home, go live with you guys, I will definitely give you an update on him. But the differences between the 2021 through 2023 teams and this team is the coaching staff. Let's see if Brian Schottenheimer and company can put together something that can get this Dallas Cowboys team to a place it hasn't been in 3 decades. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan, and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.